Well, today is a very special day here at KTBS3 and KPXJ because we're starting a brand new weekly segment to get your legal questions answered by the experts. Now, we do want to mention this is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute as legal advice. You do want to reach out to an attorney if you have any specific legal advice that you're searching for. So, it's our very first edition of Understanding the Law. We have William Kindig here from Rice and Kindig Injury Lawyers. And I guess, William, let's just dive right in here. We're talking about personal injury cases, and how do we know if we have one?
You know, that's a great question. A lot of people ask that question, and it really has three elements under Louisiana law. The first is you've got to find some wrongdoing. You've got to find somebody who has either failed to do something that they should have done or done something which they should not have done. The second element is that there has to be injury. If somebody slights you, that's not a personal injury case. This is truly for people who have been physically injured, emotionally injured, or financially injured. So there has to be that second element of an injury. And then finally, to have a case, there's got to be somebody who has the ability to right the wrong financially. And so that means insurance or other wherewithal. The most important issue, or the most important element, is the negligence element. For instance, in premises liability cases, many people will call my office with the notion that simply because they got injured on somebody else's property, that person is responsible for their injury. That's not true. The law requires that you prove that somebody failed to do something or did something they shouldn't have done. That element of liability is so important. Now, that doesn't mean that a premises may not have what we call med pay. I have it on my home. Mm-hmm. It pays without regard to fault. But just because somebody offers to pay the medical bills or in fact pays the medical bills does not guarantee or ensure that you have a personal injury case.
Now, one thing that you said that stood out to me is it can be emotional. What constitutes an emotional injury? Well,
we've seen that over and over in the field of employment. Discrimination can create an emotional charge. Sexual harassment, there may not be a physical element, but there's an emotional element to it. So there are a number of cases where emotional injuries can occur. Louisiana law treats some of those injuries differently than it does physical injuries, and requires, for instance, either an intentional act or the act is so egregious that it's not just that you have extraordinary sensibilities, but that the act is so egregious that anyone in your position would receive an emotional injury. A quick example of that is grandma's taking grandchild to an event and a dog comes out and attacks the child. Right. Child has a physical injury, but grandma suffered because that child is with her under her care. It's a very significant emotional injury.
For sure, and that's some very interesting stuff you really don't think about when you're getting into this process.
It's true. There are a number of ways where what we do affects others, and we need to be mindful of how our behavior, how our conduct, how we treat our animals. You know, the leash law is the leash law for a reason. Dogs sometimes can behave erratically, and we don't know when. That's the problem. And that leash law protects everybody because there are a lot of injuries that occur that we really take for granted.
Right. And like we could talk for another hour on that leash law. That gets
we
me
could. Do I get an hour slot today?
Not today, but if anyone's watching and thinking, oh man, I might have something here, I need to talk to a lawyer, how can they get a hold of you guys?
Well, they can certainly call us. We're in the book. We're on the interwebs.
Yeah.
We just moved into our new office at 912 Kings Highway. Okay. The purpose today is really to help inform and educate the public, not to make sure everybody calls me.
Right.
However, that being said, if somebody does have a question, we're glad to answer. We don't charge just to answer a question.
Okay.
And so if somebody has a question, we're glad to answer it for them.
Now, is the beard advice also free?
You know, the beard advice does come with a charge. And I'm going to tell you, before I grew the beard, I don't think anybody really cared about my shaving habits. And I just got back from Puerto Rico. And my wife was disturbed by how many people came up and talked about the beard.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of fun at age 65 to have somebody I don't know, just acknowledge that I'm around and to be relevant in some way.
Right. Well, William, great to have you here. Looking forward to chatting to you each week.
And we're glad to partner up with you and to be able to provide information for the public.
Absolutely. Let's go to Patrick now.